You know what Game of Thrones was lacking? Female giants. In a day and age of inclusivity and acceptance, and they fudged this one out, I'm going to right this wrong by including female giants in my Game of Thrones, Realm of Thrones playthrough in Bannerlord. So let me introduce you to Rashid Al-Weeb, the protagonist of this story. Rashid has always fantasized about giant women, but being born Giscari at the end of his life, at the sword end of Daenerys Targaryen, or what I would describe affectionately as George W. Bush with tits and makeup, which means his people were conquered yet again in the guise of freedom and democracy. Rashid was just a weeb who had a collection of priceless anime statues. He was no slave or a soldier, yet he suffered all the same. He was a refugee in his own land, which means he has no money, no land, and of course, no bitches. So as a result, Rashid has been an incel and at 30 years of age, a virgin. So he does what incels usually do, which is fantasizing over a non-existing woman, i.e. giant woman. And all of this was due to Daenerys Targaryen. He wished vengeance on the Dragon Queen, but what could a 30-year-old incel do at a time where Twitch streaming has not yet been invented? So he did what any rational man did, pray to the gods, old and new. And the gods did answer. One day a free folk merchant caravan from the lands far north told him tales of villages filled with giant women who crave for tiny men to satisfy their needs. Since most of the giant men have been hunted down and killed by the incels known as Night's Watchmen, most of these giant women would be happy to copulate with tiny human males, so long as they can produce more giant children to extend their bloodline, which is now nearly extinct. So in the tradition of prospered bros, Rashid will be traveling far north to find women in war-torn countries under desperate situations in which this desperate woman who in any other situation would reject him. After the discussion with the caravan trader, he ran home quickly and told his parents of his decision to head north on his road trip to lose his virginity. They were afraid that he would die on his journey alone, so like any other helicopter parents, they decided to cater to his stupid obsession instead of spanking him. However, on the outskirts of Marine, their party got attacked by raiders while they were resting in an inn. Their parents sacrificed their lives to protect the embarrassment of a child, and so Rashid managed to escape the bandit attack with 1,000 gold coins and the clothes on his back. So to make this a proper challenge, we would not be smithing to make money. As such, we have devised a strategy that will earn us money while at the same time level Rashid up by this method I call grinding like a Korean kid on video using real world money. But instead of going AFK and spending money, which I don't have cause I'm fucking broke and living in a third world country, I'll be manually fighting bandits appearing throughout the world solo until we can afford the giant recruits. And then capture those that survive a severe ejaculation of a javelin to their skull, and then I will serve as a LinkedIn of Bannerlord by recruiting these prisoners and giving them a new life as gang recruits to gang leaders in cities when the quest pops up. We'll also be completing quests where these gang leaders buy weapons we have confiscated from these bandits at a hefty price. Like when Lockheed Martin sold those screws for 1,000 a pop to the US government when you could have bought 1,000 of them for $1 from Alibaba. But giant women being rare and endangered like treadwives are also damn expensive. So Rashid will also need to make a lot of money so he can hire these giantess. He will also not hire anyone human, either companions or soldiers. So first of all, we will be cutting hogs and reselling it back to the trader. But since we are in Iraq and pigs are haram, we'll be using sheep instead. This will make our initial capital to afford some decent gear like a shield and polearm. We'll also be training Rashid in his javelin skills so that someday he can throw those things at George Bush when the time comes. And of course, that shield has his anime waifu on it like the degenerate Rashid is. We traveled north and fought bandits along the way and made our way to the city of Bravos, which requires us to travel beneath a giant man's nutsack on our way to the west. Yup, being face first to a giant's nutsack will be a continuing theme in this video. We made landfall at the city of Galtown. We fought more bandits and completed more quests, and finally brought us to a healthy amount of 20,000 gold. We finally made our way to North Mexico by illegally bypassing the border wall built by Donald J. Trump and reached the Mexican city of 10. We then recruited our first 2 giantess cuties by talking to this giant's nutsack. Testing our new recruits with the first bandit party we see, I came to terms to how a fucking waste of time and money this has been. After hours of grinding, for 20,000 gold, I was really expecting these giants to wipe the floor with these bandits without needing my assistance.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
But I was wrong. So it seems we needed more money and more grinding to make this work. A lot more grinding. With the Distinguished Service mod, we managed to upgrade one of our recruits to a companion. Rashid, seeing this, initiated a romantic relationship with this co-worker and finally convinced the giantess to marry him so he could finally lose his virginity. Rashid was finally married.
Freak! Holy shit, it's Bigfoot! That's a huge bitch! Freak! Behemoth!
It seems that not everyone is pleased with this union between Weeb and Giant. And she got preggo. That backed up blue balls did their work. And Rashid, being the giant cuck, the boinker of giantess, the beta giant simp, changed his Giscari surname to that of a titan. We managed to get more giants for our party up to 4 and was able to fight bigger bandit parties. And it did pay off when those gang leader quests start popping off. Soon our finances reached 20,000. Things were looking bright until this happened. After waiting several minutes and punching uselessly on my keyboard like a white woman on a MacBook in Starbucks, a cutscene played out. From a desert eater and now a father to a mixed child freak of nature, I mean, look at this little dude. He's half Rashid's size. With our child and 20,000 in hand, we made our way to Mexico City to get more giant recruits. We are now 6 strong and I decide to risk it by doing hideout quests, which would net us 3,000 dinars and the loot from raiding the tent city of these roaming hobos. With the success of our first bandit hideout raid, I decided to do more, and this quickly became our go-to way on making money going forward. We also managed to get one of these recruits upgraded to our second companion. After more grinding, we got our second child, which did not crash the game for some reason this time. 2 more giant recruits later and our third companion. With a party of 10, I decided to attempt a white bandit camp. These camps are occupied by the end boss in Game of Thrones, the White Walker. We managed to absolutely stomp this albino fox and get a lot of money from it. We made our way across the sea to Bravos and chanced upon a caravan getting gangbanged by 2 parties of pirates. So instead of helping the caravan, we allowed them to get fucked and later attacked the pirates. We got the caravan's loot without going to war with the faction, and we also had a neat little battle on ships. Upon returning to Westeros, Rashid's third child was born. I decided then to join the Starks as a mercenary after my attempts to join the Free Folk was rejected. We joined the siege, won, and got 22% of the loot. Joined another one but soon bailed with a 1,190 army strong party on the horizon. I ain't gonna waste my giant army which I grinded for hours for these goddamn Starks. I was right and they were all captured. I decided then it was time to leave the Starks, and I joined the Free Folk, which was the real democratic faction in this game, just like the Mexican cartel in real life. But unlike the Mexican cartel, these guys are completely useless. Not only do they not sell nose candy, they get their asses beat by a bunch of border patrol incels on a regular basis. So our first mission is to destroy the Night's Watch on behalf of the cartel by taking over all the castles guarding Trump's wall and the city Black Castle that defends the border crossing, so North Mexicans can finally move freely to and from the border to work as gardeners and janitors for literally next to nothing in Winterfell, as God intended them to do. So we battle one party after another. These incels underestimated us just because I had a party of Mexican housewives, not knowing they were actually Mexican housewives who also happens to be giants. Maybe they look small in the distance, or maybe these incels just have a tendency to underestimate women. I mean, we get it. Rashid was also an incel, but he got laid. These motherfuckers didn't even try to get laid, so it's no excuse. So we murdered them all. And look at these idiots, they have no chance at all, and yet they're still charging. Soon I was able to afford 30 pissed off giantess in our party. With 30 giantess and our mercenary contract, we basically snowballed our fortunes quickly. Eventually, we got enough money to afford 36. And after some time, a healthy number of 47 giantess. And after further grinding, 67. Which gave me the confidence to take over the border patrol stations by the Mexican border. We managed to overwhelm the incels hiding out in their castles. Since we were mercenaries of the Mexican cartel, the ownership of the castle was handed to them. With their castle taken, the Border Patrol faction frantically tried to set up a defense by sieging our nearly taken castle with a force of more than 200 incels. Our outnumbered giant archers easily took care of all of them. As such, we got more loot, more money, and later, more giants. With a force of 85 giant archers, we easily took their last castle. The incels had no other place to run, and we cornered them in their last town. As they feverishly sucked each other off in a goodness-smelling lodging, we prepared our siege engines, and soon we stood tall in the halls of the incel HQ. We finally destroyed the incel faction. Finally, the people of Mexico are free from Trump's wall. Adios, amigos! And so I decided to make my way across the seas to my home in the Middle East to exact my revenge against George Bush. But then I realized George Bush had made her way to Florida. But no matter, my plan was to liberate the Middle East, and I will get her soon. We started a war with the Valerians by attacking a Valerian noble. And they tried to take a defensive position up in a hill, but that didn't save them at all. Soon they were rolling down those hills like it was an amusement park or something. Then we made our way to the city to siege it. We broke the walls down, and finally liberated the first Giscari city. And I appointed one of my companions as a governor and talked to her. And we founded our kingdom, the Titans. Apparently everyone is in bikinis for, reasons. I swear this is just for scientific reasons. I just want to see how tall the room actually is, and whether, you know, in the screen, it was like everybody was in the screen and there was no bugs or anything like that. For sure, man, for sure. I mean, I respect all women, for sure, man. I respect all women, alright? So after that partial nudity cutscene, we proceeded to fight the Valerian nobles and keeping them as prisoners. And looky who we have here, the incel night watchman who switched factions. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You're gonna have to find a new faction soon. And boom! All their troops went flying.
Stop.
Of course, this is not Bannerlord if these assholes did not escape and raise a 100-strong party out of thin air and siege our castles from the other side of the map. Eventually, we got these two passive skills which turn our mobile prisons into mobile gulags, preventing our prisoners from escaping. Without any nobles, nobody will be left to siege my fiefs or defend their fiefs, making this the most OP skill in the late game. Now, as we were sieging the next Valerian castle, the horse-humping Dothraki declared war on us. I'm not scared, let's look at these guys, why don't they wear any armor? Is this the racist, cis, straight, white man interpretation of how the bronies should look like? Barbaric and wore no clothes? I've been to bronies conventions, my guy, and they absolutely do wear clothes. Did George R.R. Martin wrote these books based on old racist Hollywood movies? Next thing you're telling me there's actually no black Valerians in the books. What? Well anyways, fuck the Dothraki, I'm gonna steamroll everyone. Soon enough, they amassed a large army of 700 plus outside the city of Illyria. We took down the lords that tried to siege our castles and imprisoned them. This victory put most of their nobles in our custody. However, with an army of 125 and a ton of loot and money, I knew we needed to grow our army bigger. So we managed to sue for peace with the Dothraki and Lee's faction to buy enough time to get to 10 and get our recruits and head back to Iraq and continue our liberation campaign. With an army of 186 strong, we headed back across the sea and sieged the city of Astapor. We made 2 holes in them walls and plugged both walls full of arrows. We turned the Eye of Sauron to Valeria and decided it's time to end them. One city after another, first Volantis, then Voluntaris. Valesera. Selhoris. And lastly, Alaninaka, and so we destroyed the Valerians. This genocidal campaign was profitable and we're back full of gold, while 1.25 million dinars to be exact, We went back north and got ourselves more giantess. With an army of 278 giantess, we declared war on the Dothraki, so we'll finally be able to take back the rest of those cities under Giscari rule. We took back the city of Marine, Yunkai, and the castle Hesh, Vest-Efe, Vest-Diav, until we realized he had no place to put our siege equipment. Damn those sneaky Dothraki. So I decided to sue for peace, as no way we can take this city with an army of 269 without siege equipment. So we made our way back up north, set up an army with Rashid's wife Yun leading the other party of giants. We recruited as much as our finances can afford us, and now we have an army of 482 giants. Our first order of business was sieging the city of Mirth, which was taken over by the Lannisters. Soon enough, the Dothraki declared war on us. They amassed an army of 1,344 of the greatest Dothraki fighters the world had ever seen and sieged the city of Marine. But this time, we were ready. We had 493 angry large Mexican ladies. We met them at an open field and slaughtered them all. We fought a defensive campaign, waiting for the Dothraki to amass large armies to siege one of our territories and attack them when that happens, imprisoning their nobles when we win. And like a Rabbit 20 user, they took the bait and we met them at an open field, capturing the last of their nobles. We took another of their city, Vest Dothrak. We then travelled further north and took the city of Uiextender that used to belong to the Chinese faction of Realm of Thrones. Vest Lassie was next. That was a disaster, as apparently modding giants to the game made it impossible for me to squeeze through the gate, and I got hammered in the head with a boulder. I retreated and didn't take any chances this time by making 2 holes in the wall, and I stayed outside as I didn't want to die in the armpit of a giantess like last time. Though some people might want that. We took more of their castles until only one remaining, the bug city of Vest-Diav. Then I found out that if you click randomly on the map, you can still set up the siege engines. We tore up 2 holes in the wall, and conquered the city and destroyed the Dothraki faction once and for all. So only one Giscari city was left, Lazosh. So we declared war on Sarnor faction and proceeded to bait them to bring their large armies to siege our cities. They brought an army of 1,164 to siege Vest Dothrak, and this is the first time I fought against the bug chariots of the Sarnor. They were flying in the air when the arrows from the giantess hit them. I was really scared that my PC would self-immolate at this point. We fought another army of lesser people this time. Hell, I even tried my hand at chariot racing. With all their nobles under my custody, I sieged the last Giscari city and took it under the rightful hands of the Giscari people, and set out in his imperialistic crusade to destroy the Sarnor. He felt guilty as the Sarnor were pretty much cousins of the Giscari people, but the tiny little head of his disagreed. He took all of their lands, castles and cities until the last castle of Ceres remained. And the Sarnor was no more. So we proceeded on to the next agenda on the table, Daenerys Targaryen. We found her in an army of almost 2,000 men, sieging the city of Harroway. We sued for peace with the Lannisters, and waged war against Daenerys. But before we could do anything, the Braavos faction declared war on us, and we had to head east to protect our fiefs. And so we made the army of Braavos, which totaled around 900 men, sieging our newly acquired fief, Saf. We defeated them easily and took their leaders prisoners. It seems we need to destroy the Braavos faction before we could head west. We then conquered and cut through the countryside to get to the capital of Braavos. We easily took it over. We conquered more of their towns, and in the end, left with only one castle. However, another faction took advantage of the Bravos' dire circumstances and took the last Bravos castle, Pisa, before we could get there. The Bravos faction was destroyed as a result. The path to the west was clear for us. However, with 10 million dinars, Rashid figured that he might as well hire more giants. With an army of 572 giantess, Rashid tracked her down next to the settlement of Brasbel. We moved cautiously near her, allowing her to attack us first, because when battle comes, she will need to engage us.
So it begins.
The game was clearly screwing with us. It gave us 341 troops at the start. I remembered putting the max troops to 1000 in the game options, so we should be given 500 instead. Huh, whatever. I lined up my giant archers in a straight formation, and with our giant infantry in the sides. As Daenerys closed in, I told my archers to fire. Her forces began to dwindle. They charged us at first with cavalry and horse archers in the left flank. I charged our infantry to meet them. And I instructed the archers to stop shooting to conserve ammo. Daenerys had ran off into the distance. Had she fled the battlefield? I instructed the infantry to finish off the rest of the horse archer. And it seems that they are just regrouping in the distance. The second wave was incoming. I instructed the archers to fire once they were close. It seems that all of our archer groups were out of ammo except for one, so I got everyone to charge. Daenerys seems to have retreated. I chased her down, but then I heard the horn. It was a counterattack. Daenerys wanted all her Sims to go out and kill me. My giants had my back, and I told them to charge with everything they got. The future of the world was at stake. Here, the dragon, the weapon of mass destruction, has to be stopped. Our giants charged forward ferociously and surrounded the Dothraki slut. She charged her dragon against our giants. She seemed immune to the giants' melee attack, so I commanded the only archer group to fire on her and disperse the rest of them. And finally the beast went down, and she watched helplessly as we took her dragon away from her. And so Rashid made his way back to Bravos, the new seat of the Titan dynasty. Daenerys now rotting in the prison of the city of Bravos, awaiting her trial for the many crimes against humanity that she had committed. So he decided to pay her a visit.
So it finally came to this, has it? You pale-skinned, white-haired assholes thought you were better than us, conquered us, burnt us in our homes, killed our children, raped us, and made us your slaves. All that while calling us less than animals. And where are you right now? On the brink of fucking extinction. The gods favored us more than you assholes. You must be seething with anger, which I don't deny gives me much satisfaction.
You made a deal with the devil, and for what? Because you hated me? Was I really the evil one? Or you just fooled yourself into thinking that you were the hero of this story while pretending to be the victim all this time? I wanted to break the wheel, but you just made it worse.
Stop with your nonsense, you brony slut. Your end is near. At least go out with some dignity.
That whore you call your wife? She isn't a giant, isn't she? But I guess you knew that, didn't you? I don't take you for an idiot.
Rashid didn't know that.
Shut up, you pale-haired witch.
You know what? They call themselves the Anunnaki, the gods of men, and you just handed them the keys to our enslavement, you fool!
Daenerys clearly saw the distraught in Rashid's face. He quickly walked away to hide his expression from his captive.
You fool, you have fucked us all!
With the conquest of Essos almost complete, Rashid sits in the throne room of Bravos, the words of the brony slut still echoing in his mind. Was she right? Were they not giants after all? If the giants were almost extinct, why were he able to recruit so many of them in his army? And why do they look so remarkably similar, as if they were copies of one another? but he shrugged the idea of that, as the tale deserves another time to unfold. For now, we see the tale of Rashid the Weeb come to a close. So if you want to see more of the Giantess story and its continuation, like, subscribe and comment to drive the algorithm to promote this video out. And as always, may you have a peaceful day.